The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, when this bill came before the House in its first reading, New Zealand first said that we would support it going to a select committee and that our support was conditional on there being sufficient oversight and safeguards put in place so that the rights and freedoms of New Zealand citizens and residents are not jeopardised or disregarded in the execution of the powers which this bill encompasses. The fact is, though, that at the Select Committee it became very apparent. This bill has been watered down, but the Honourable Amy Adams does not understand it. The Internet or any of the technical implications of the law she is trying to pass. She has the four of the largest providers of the Internet content and email, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft and Facebook, saying there will be legal conflicts with other countries, and second, this law is out of alignment with approaches taken by the UK, Canada, United States and Australia. That's pretty damning when you think about that, because those are the other parties to the Five Eyes arrangement, much vaunted by members of the National Party for a long period of time. The New Zealand government's approach differed from how the United States, Britain, Canada and Australia had decided to tackle interception issues. So say Google, Microsoft, Facebook and Yahoo. However, Amy Adams rejected that, saying that this bill was, quotes, not out of step. Now, the real question becomes straight away, how would she know? The reality, Mr Speaker, is that New Zealand first is concerned at the way the government and ministers, and the Prime Minister in particular, expects people to believe their assurances. Assurances blandly given. But you'll recall that before the House rose for the recess, we raised the issue of a raid by the SIS in July of last year on members of the Fiji democracy movement in this country. And here is Mr Key's answer. I'm not in a position to comment on that, he said. I do not have those details, but I will say that I understand that there has been a radio report, at least. I've been advised that Mr Singh said that he complained to the Inspector General of Intelligence and Security. I'm advised that New Zealand Security Intelligence Service has no record of a formal complaint to the Inspector General in relation to what the member is talking about. If Mr Singh feels there is a problem, he should follow his legal rights and make a complaint to the Inspector General. Well, there was a complaint to the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman has referred that on to the Inspector General. But the Prime Minister came to this House and he told everyone there is no concern because the only example of illegality is in the case of Kim.com. That was the statement. Now, when you see a group like United Front for a Democratic Fiji put out on Thursday, October the 10th, just a few days ago, a statement like this, you've got to be concerned. They said, it's therefore with nothing short of horror that the Council has reacted to the response by the Prime Minister to recent revelations in Parliament regarding an illegal raid carried out by the SIS in July last year upon members of the Fiji Democracy and Freedom Movement in Auckland, in which the Terrorism Suppression Act was invoked by way of justification. The raid was based upon the pretext of alleged discovery of an assassination plot against the Prime Minister of Fiji, Frank Bainimarama. That's the background to this. Now, don't forget, the Prime Minister on successive days got up in Parliament and said there was nothing to worry about. Now, here are the objectionable features. The raid was carried out in collusion with the Fiji military. That's abundantly clear from all the texts, from the commander of the Fiji land forces back to New Zealand, all on his phone, showing he had knowledge at the time the raid was being carried out of the raid itself. Now, the second matter is this. Those carrying out the raids, who identified themselves as members of the SIS, asserted that there was cogent evidence to support the assertion of the existence of an assassination plot. Yet, no follow-up action or criminal proceedings were ever taken and are prospected to be taken even now. So that disposes of that humbug. Third, the plot, the subject of the raids, was used as a pretext for the stripping of a New Zealander of his New Zealand passport. Whereas when he filed proceedings in the High Court to challenge that step, the Minister backed down and conceded 1 week before the set hearing date occurred. So 1 week out, when challenged with all this information and knowing they had to now justify the SIS action, the government withdrew. Again, the Prime Minister claims that there's nothing wrong with that, nothing untoward. No warrant was, this is a fourth point, no warrant was shown to justify the raids. A warrant was requested to be shown, but was refused to be shown on the basis of being confidential. Now that's the most extraordinary claim for an SIS officer, a female in this case, to make. Because the reason why the warrant is in that person's hands is that it is the legal and authoritative justification for that member to be there, carrying out that raid. And when requested, it must be shown. In fact, it should be shown voluntarily. Plus, their name should be given. So on all four counts, the Prime Minister's assurance to this House are found wanting, and seriously wanting. Now, that might be the behaviour of somebody from Merrill Lynch, but it's not the behaviour of someone who seeks to lead one of the great democracies of this world, one of the only 9 nations that can boast an line of unbroken elections for the last 150 years. That's how much this Prime Minister misunderstands his duties and his responsibilities. How he's prepared to come here and say, trust me. Really? Why would we? Given that when he's asked these a series of questions over 2 days, he gives these bland assurances that because he's in charge, he can be trusted. Everyone knows now that he cannot be. This case will not go away, but it's the background to the kind of information that is being discussed in this House today. And here comes the Minister who says, look, I'll send somebody to brief you. Who? Her? What's her expertise in this industry? You've got Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, Facebook, all who know that their arrangements with the other Five Eyes countries, Australia, Canada, UK, the USA, are different. But no, we're expected to believe by some giant extraordinary feat, this Minister and Prime Minister can be trusted to understand the issue and ensure that the legal safeguards are in place. What the bill is basically asking for is the equivalent of getting New Zealand Post at a moment's notice, read all incoming mail for a group of people, make them contact with whoever wrote the letter and demand they cooperate with the New Zealand government. Well, I know what I've just heard over there is rubbish, but I'm not dealing in that member's specialty from the South Island. We're dealing with facts. What the bill is basically asking for us is the equivalent of getting New Zealand Post at a moment's notice, read all incoming mail for a group of people, make them contact with whoever wrote the letter and demand that they cooperate with the New Zealand government. How on earth is that responsibility one that New Zealand Post should bear? New Zealand Post is also expected to bear the cost. Now, that's exactly what is going on here. In this case, the ISPS, which is the Internet service provider, that institution is the post office. So they will pass the cost on to the consumers to pay for the privilege, madam, of being spied upon. Now, either put up somebody else to refute the argument being put up by the opposition, or kindly keep quiet, because sitting there and not putting anyone up is not adequate defence for what they say is a laudable, needed, essential bill for the security and safety of New Zealanders. That's why we have changed from supporting the bill, having seen the Select Committee hearings and seen the way the Minister has treated it, to now opposing it.
Mark Mitchell.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very good bill.